Can everybody hear me? Anybody hear me? If you could type in the chat box, that would be great. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, welcome to Let's Talk Business. This is a free weekly webinar series put on by the Washington Center for Women in Business. And it's always a different topic and a different guest speaker. I'm really excited to have Nicole Salmon Smith today talking about finding your inner brand. Before I turn it over to her, though, a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded. I will email out the recording to everybody when it's finished. The slides that Nicole is using will also be emailed out to you. So just remember that while taking notes, you will have the slides available. Please mute yourself in between asking questions. We are always welcome to make comments and ask questions, but since it is being recorded and to make sure that everybody can hear, it's nice to not have a lot of background noise. In order to mute yourself, there are two ways you can do it. There is this green microphone on the control panel. If you have sometimes you might have just the skinny bar here. You can click the mic and it'll mute you, or in the attendee tab right here, find your name and you can click the mic there and it will mute you. If you're having trouble hearing for any reason, I highly recommend the phone option under the audio pane versus computer speakers. However, if you're not having any issues with your computer speakers, please feel free to leave it at that. And like I said, please feel free to ask questions. There will be time at the end, but you can ask questions as Nicole is going through. If you want to audibly ask your question, you can raise your hand, this symbol here, and that just kind of lets us know that you're wanting to ask a question. Or you can just shout it out if it seems like a good time. Or if you don't have the audio capabilities, you can also type it into the box. If you would like to ask a question, but it says that you have been muted by an organizer, that would be me, and it's probably because I just noticed some background music or background noise. That doesn't mean that you can't talk. It just means I was trying to make sure that the audio quality was good. So again, just raise your hand and I'll make sure to unmute you, or send a little message and I can unmute you. So what is the Washington Center for Women in Business, or the WCWB? We are a program of the U.S. Small Business Administration. We're funded in part by the SBA, and our entire mission is to help women in Washington State who either want to start a business, or if they're already started, how can we help them grow and strengthen their business? How can we help them be more profitable? You'll see on the screen there's just some of the things that we can help you with. And really it is. We meet you where you are in business and figure out how we can get you to your next milestone and help you reach the goals and make sure that your vision is what you wanted it to be and achieve that. We do this through workshops like this one, either online or in person. Or a lot of one-on-one coaching sessions. Today, or most of our workshops are obviously kind of talking in generalities, what people can do. But when it comes to that one-on-one coaching session, we talk to you specifically and, again, cater that to what your vision is, what your goals are. We are located in Lacey, Washington. And that's our only office, so we do a lot of phone and Skype and email coaching too. I was looking at where everybody's coming from, and I know that a lot of you are not easily able to get to Washington, able to get to Lacey, and that's fine. Luckily for technology, we can make that work. And I did notice there were some people outside of Washington State. So if you go to the SBA's website, there is a way that you can see what the Women's Business Center nearest you. My name is Tracy Hansen. Here's my contact information. Christine Buckley is our business coach. She's the one you'd be meeting with one-on-one. And you can also contact Ryan Norskog in order to schedule with Christine. And I noticed that we also did have some male attendees today. Even though we are the Washington Center for Women in Business, we're always happy to help any small business that needs that help. Probably 20% of our clients are male-owned businesses. To meet with us for the first time is free. Every hour session after that is $25, but we do have scholarships available. We do have, like I said, this is a weekly series. Here's some of our upcoming webinars. We don't have one next week because we have the wonderful Inspire Women's Business Conference during that time. So I hope if you're in the area, you'll join us. You have 5 days left to buy your tickets. I'm excited to see everybody there. And with that, Nicole, I will give you the presenter.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to everyone who is here. I'll just take, we're going to be talking, make sure you can see my screen here. Just give me a moment. Awesome, there we go.
Perfect.
So we're going to be talking about the topic, our session is called The Core Edge, Finding Your Inner Brand. So before we jump in, I want to just take this opportunity to introduce myself to you. My name is Nicole Salmon Smith. As you heard already, I'm both a minister and a leadership and lifestyle coach. And I work with women one-to-one through private coaching to help them to realign with who they are at their core so they can live and lead from a place of authenticity. And whether or not you're looking at leveling up in your personal life, your work life, or your business, understanding who you are at your core is very, very essential. And we're going to look at that today through the lens of entrepreneurship and how to find your inner brand and how finding it can really help to give you the stability you need in terms of brand identity and brand consistency. So I'm pretty easygoing. So if at any point you have a question, feel free to shoot your hand up. Tracy's going to help me out here because I do get quite engaged once I get going to let me know if we do have questions. And I will also set aside some time at the end of our time together to answer your questions as well. Okay. Here we go. So on my way here, was I telling my friend that I was getting ready for this webinar, she asked me, what are you going to wear? So when you think about preparing for work or a presentation around what the most important aspect is, why was this question so important? Because she and I share a common experience which really revolutionized this idea of the core and being true to yourself and finding your own identity and brand. We had an opportunity to do a pitch for a very, very big project, and we got our presentation just right. It looked really good visually. We really feeling really good about the content. But we were still coming into ourselves in terms of our brand, who we were, our skill set, how we wanted to be perceived in the world. And more importantly, I think we were still convincing ourselves that we were a brand worth going with. I'm not sure that we completely had the buy-in. And part of that was not having clarity around who we were at our core. And so we got all dressed up for the presentation, went to their head office, and till this day, the reason why we always ask, what are you wearing, is because we had on these ghastly outfits that at the time felt like this is who I need to put on to convince not only other people, I guess we were trying to convince ourselves at the time, if I'm to be quite honest, but also we were trying to convince those in the room about who we were. We weren't clear about it, but we were trying to portray what we thought others wanted. And so the presentation was going horribly. Outside of the fact that we were very good and are very good at what we do, it was a really shoddy presentation. And we could see that we were losing people around the room. People are on their phones, people are taking washroom breaks. And I was wearing these open-toe shoes in the middle of summer, and I was sliding down into them, and my feet were killing me. So I said, you know what? I've got to do something. So in that moment, without realizing it at the time, what was happening was I was sliding into my core place, my place of authenticity. And I pulled up a chair and I got real close to them around the boardroom table, and I said, listen, you guys are going to have a copy of the presentation. The information's in there for you to review. I want to talk to you about what we can do. I want to talk to you about what are some of the core needs around what you're trying to accomplish as an organization and how we think we can do that for you. And I could see the energy and the vibe change around the whole room. People were paying attention, they were leaning in, cell phones were going down. Why? Because I had finally tapped into my core, and I had finally tapped into my core, out to my authentic place. And so I want to lead you through some of that in today's webinar, through finding and identifying your own brand. All right. And so on the screen here, you see a picture. If you can't make out what it is, it's an apple that's been cut open. And you may have remembered doing this if you have kids. You may have done this with your kids. If you were in elementary school, this may have been done with you. But if you slice an apple in a particular way, it reveals what looks like at its core, its star. And so we really want to get through to what's at your core this afternoon. As business owners, as entrepreneurs, what's at the core of your brand? What's at the core of your brand identity? And how can we reveal and release your star power in your business, right? Especially when you have to enter spaces and arenas that may be perceived as being oversaturated, or it feels like you're competing or you're trying to stand out in an industry with so many other people who are doing seemingly the exact same thing. So how do you find your inner brand? How do you stand out from all the other people who are seemingly doing exactly the same thing, right? How do you walk into a room with everyone who may have the same designation, maybe even similar products or services, and hold your own and find your place of identity? So as Tracy mentioned, the slides that we're going through today will be made available to you, but I still want to encourage you to take notes. The biggest lie that I tell myself is that I don't need to write this down. I'll remember it. So even if you get the slides, there's something powerful cognitively when that pen hits the paper, that we retain information much better. And I want you to capture the bits of information that hopefully meet you right where you are, and maybe even spark some ideation while we're talking. I don't want you to miss those really great nuggets. So let's look at the overview then of your star quality. All right. So we're talking about getting to the core of who we are. And a big part of that is drilling down to your purpose. What is the why in your business, right? So a lot of us are really good with, our elevator pitch, our pitch about what we do. I have my tagline, my tag entry down, my name is Nicole Salmon. I'm a leadership and lifestyle coach, and I help women to realign with who they are at their core so they can live and lead from a place of authenticity. I am, I am an authenticity champion. I am a clarity curator, and I am a bounce back boss. Yay, but so what, right? And a lot of people who are listening to that or watching my brand from the outside are not exclusively concerned with my what, but what's really going to help to draw people to your brand is your why. So the key point number one around determining how to find your inner brand, how to incorporate that voice into the brand that you put out there to your audience and to your followers, really has to do with challenging you to push through to your why. And I was on another webinar where people were talking about their why, and they were asked to write them down. And what I saw happening was people were still describing their what. So their what was, I helped to put people in affordable homes where they could build dreams, or my why is to, reduce debt within a certain amount of time. But they weren't doing very well at telling their why, the story behind either their product, or if they're a service-based business, why do you do it? So you heard my beautiful little pitch there around who I am and my what around what I do, but my why as to why I do this business, which is really what I build my brand around, is my why is for myself. I had in my journey, I was a single mom, got pregnant at the age of 19, lost my mom to cancer at the age of 18. And after a while, after a series of really poor choices in my life, I felt like my mistakes had voided my purpose. I felt like because of where I was in my life, my bad decisions, a series of horribly wrong turns, that all of the ideas, potential, purpose, everything that anyone ever saw in me or that I saw in myself had been voided. And so after a series of amazing life encounters and going through a process of healing and self-discovery and formation, I was able to bounce back from that place, get back into alignment with who Nicole is at her core, and begin to find out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing in life, and helping other women to do the same. That's my why. And so then you go to, how do I bleed that over into my marketing so that people are attracted to the emotive parts of your business? So begin to, one way that you can do that is, you can see here, you can look at things like your natural abilities, right? So if perhaps you haven't started your business yet, and you're trying to decide, what type of business you should start, what that should look like. Perhaps you've already started your business, but you really want to kind of zero in on your niche. Look at what some of your natural abilities are. What do you do that when you do it, it seems to overwhelm other people, but you make it look effortlessly simple and easy? What is it that you have a natural ability to do, where even if you were exhausted, you can put your hands to it, execute it, and get it done well, right? This is going to help you to, again, to get some clarity around what's your inner brand. What is it that makes you different from the entrepreneur, from the business, from the service provider who's sitting right next door to you doing the exact same thing? Your natural abilities, how you do what you do naturally, will never be exactly the same as someone else beside you. Another thing that you want to look at is, what is the consistent feedback that I've received? Now, this can be in your personal life, and ideally that's what you want to look at. You want to drill down. This can also be in your business. But you really want to look at, just as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a lady boss, what is some of the consistent feedback, positive feedback that you've been getting about who you are, right? What is it that people identify about you? Is it your personality? Do people think you're gregarious? Do they think you're outgoing? Do they think that you have a very clear way of seeing to the core of complexities? Follow the breadcrumbs. Start to pay attention to the dialogue that has surrounded you, the positive dialogue that has surrounded you, because again, these types of descriptors, not only is it going to bring you mental clarity about your brand, but it's also going to begin to help you with the language, right, around your brand. And I don't know how many of you love content writing. I think the average entrepreneur, unless your business is in writing, often dreads content writing. So having to get on your website and describe a product or describe your service, or getting on social media, what do I post, what do I talk about, in a way that's going to not only be meaningful for my audience, but identifying who you are at your core is also going to help to make sure that you're drawing the right audience. Any customer that you have, or any customer or client that you have to fight to obtain, you're also going to have to fight to keep. And by identifying and getting to your core, identifying your core, that's what's going to give you the edge. That's what's going to give you your edge in your marketplace, in your place of arena. Any questions or comments so far? Is this helping you out, ladies? Before I continue?
No questions yet.
All right, I'm going to keep it moving. So the next element that we can look at on the journey to identifying our inner brand is our dreams and aspirations. Now, this is important because we want to make sure while we may brush up the look of our brand, and maybe and some of you may be at the point where you're looking at, do I do an overhaul? What you want to avoid is having to do significant overhauls to your brand throughout the lifetime of your entrepreneurship. And one way to minimize that is to spend some time in ideation around your dreams and aspirations for not only your business, but some of your life goals. Keep in mind that your business and your personal life, your everyday life, they're not that separate. And the reason why I say that is because for many of us going into entrepreneurship, it wasn't just because we were trying to get rich and make big bucks, but for many of us, we were also trying to create the kind of lifestyle, make room for the kind of lifestyle that we wanted to live. We wanted to be in charge of our own hours. We wanted to be able to perhaps travel, provide for our family, be more present for our family. We wanted to diversify our income. Whatever the reason is, I challenge you around finding your inner brand is spend some time in ideation around where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I realize that kind of visioning may seem overwhelming. I've been in workshops before where people are like, write down your goals for the next 20 years. Not necessarily talking about goals and outcomes and deliverables, but again, when you think about what are some of the things I'm dreaming about in my aspirations, you want to make sure that you're building the kind of brand that can grow with you. So we want to try to avoid compartmentalizing, here's my everyday go around living life, and then here's the business here over on the other side. Because what happens in times is they start to grow apart. And anytime that our personal development and our business development start to grow so far apart, that's when we start to experience that lack of clarity, feeling confused, no longer perhaps feeling happy with the business or the brand or the way that we're being positioned and experienced out in the marketplace. So by looking ahead and looking forward, this is also going to help you to discover your brand and also help you to remain consistent to it. The next piece is looking at life lessons. So what has life already taught me in terms of my personal arena and the business arena? What am I already learning from my own experiences? What might I be learning from the experiences of those closest around me? What have my life experiences, or what are they teaching me about who I am? Because we want to pull that into our brand. And one of the things that I do with my clients in our one-to-one clarity sessions is we kind of look at some of these different elements. I do a number of different assessments with them, and we look at things like values and temperament and work style and all of these pieces. And one of the ways I describe what I do is I'm like, my clients talk, I listen, and then I help them to connect the dots. And so you can do the same for yourself. Whatever your preferred medium is, whether it's technology, you like to write things down. I have a whole wall in my upstairs home that's a whiteboard wall where I literally just kind of ideate and spill it on the paper. And so you can begin to kind of look at, your natural abilities, the story of your why, the consistent feedback, dreams and aspirations, life lessons. As you begin to reflect on all of these, spill it all out on the canvas, spill it out all on the page, spill it out all out on your computer screen, and begin to connect the dots and see where the areas of synergy is. Again, not only is this going to help with the shaping and the formation of the brand, but you're building a brand that reflects you. You're building a brand that has an edge because, again, your DNA, your divine natural abilities, who you are at your core, is unlike anyone else. No one else has the exact same life lessons. What is it about that story that you want to tell or to be felt in your brand? And so once you've kind of connected those dots and seen and discover the areas of synergy, then what are some of the feeling words that you want to attach to that? So again, whether you deliver a product or whether you're delivering a service, I want you to think about the user on the other side of that experience. How do you want them to feel? And that emotive, that feeler word is very important, I believe, in brand building, because sometimes we do it backwards and we exclusively look at how we want to be seen. And those are not exactly the same thing. So I, Nicole, as an individual, I may want to be seen and perceived as being, you know, competent, cutting edge, wise, fun, fresh, right? Those are all who Nicole the person is. But that's great for me. But I'm leaving out my user. What's my user and experience that I want my customer, my client, to walk away with? Well, that brings out some very different language. That brings out things like, I want them to feel fired up. I want them to feel clear. I want to evoke their courageous spirit. I want them to feel capable. I want them to feel like they have a second chance at life. When you start to pull out those emotive words out of your why, out of your the narrative from your natural abilities, your feedback, your reflection of your dreams and aspirations and the ideation that you've done there, what you've pulled out from your life lessons. Once you start to connect those and add the feeling to it, what you're also doing, again, is you're creating the edge to your brand, and you're also really helping your own self out with your content writing as well. And for those of us who may struggle with putting our brand out there in the way that we want our clients to experience our product and our services, this type of core digging, core reflecting, core aligning is really going to help to give you the edge. So, for example, can someone just type for me what kind of business? I want to just use an example. What kind of business you have, or what kind of business you're hoping to start up, just in the comments. Do we have a brave soul? Holistic life coach with products. Thank you, Victoria. So again, thinking about how, you know, we talk about the feeling of your brand, Victoria, when you look at other people's pages around how they present themselves, not just visually, because dog grooming, thank you, Leanne. When you think about, not just, because usually when we think about brands, we always immediately go to colors. And we know that colors are attached to emotions as well, because different colors, you know, make our audience feel a different way. But in addition to that, we want, when people land on our website, when they pick up a product, when they read about our services, again, what kind of language is going to grip them? It's not going to be the language that's overly wordy, you know, overly descriptive, lots of information exclusively. That may be true depending on what type of business you have and what you're doing. However, you want to grip the emotion of the person. We know that we have just a few seconds, right? So whether it's on your page or how you talk about your business, again, you have just a few seconds to kind of pull at the proverbial heartstrings of your audience to pull them in, and by pulling on those emotive words and connecting them to your brand and connecting them to you, not only is it going to create a great experience for your audience, but it's also going to feel good for you. It's your business, right? April says, I'm still on the purpose slide. Are we slide advancing? No, we're still on the same slide. Yes, thank you. So yeah, you want to feel good about your business. Whenever we start to, on the idea of core alignment, and this is kind of the premise of my coaching practice, when we start to experience pain in different areas of our lives, it's usually because we are out of alignment. So here's the example. I'm going through, it's about a year now since I've been going through physiotherapy, working with a team of chiropractors and my massage therapists and a whole bunch of amazing people, because a few years back, actually it started with when I was in my post-secondary. I was having pain in my ankles, pain in the bottom of my feet. I was having migraines. It felt like my whole body was deteriorating. And I went to my doctor and she said to me, your core muscles are weak. So with my pregnancy, it really, my core, my abdominal muscles really took a beating. And as a result, my core was really weak. And so I didn't realize how responsible my core was for holding up my back, my posture, my knees. I had no idea how much my core was really running the show with my body. And she was like, you need to do crunches, you need to do abdominal exercises to strengthen your core. And I guarantee you in a short time, you're going to see all of the other symptoms go. And it was true. And when I left her office, I kind of had an aha moment, which became the foundation for my practice around, the idea of realigning with your core and core strengthening. Because again, going back to your business, you want it to not, it's not just about selling something to your audience that's going to get them to purchase your services, Victoria, as a holistic life coach, or buy your products, or to sign up for your dog grooming services, Leanne. But what you want is to also have a brand that you're proud of, a brand that makes you happy. And so the moment that there's so much information out there, we know that as entrepreneurs, we're in the technology era, there is so much information. Click here for 3 steps on how to grow your business. Click here, to click. There's so much information. And if we are not careful, we'll find that even in our entrepreneurial pursuits, that it starts to pull us out of our core alignment of who we are as a business brand. So this type of reflecting exercise helps us to, one, identify our inner brand, and also to stay consistent and true to it as well. All right. Let me change slides here. So we talked a little bit about finding your inner brand. Let's look at what the missing link might be. So this is adopted from actually a change management model, or the change management model. And I kind of tweaked it a little bit because I think it fits so beautifully with how to find out what's that missing link. What might be standing in the way between you being able to identify your brand, stay consistent with your brand, get clear about your brand and who you are. And so hopefully this tool will be something that you can take away and go back to from time to time to help you around identifying your inner brand. So here's kind of the quotient, the equation, the template. So around brand clarity, we want to make sure that we have a vision. So a clear vision about the business, about who we are, what we want to do, who our target audience is, who we want to reach, the field of our business. We want to make sure that we have the skills that are required to do the work with excellence. Is there training required? Do I need to update something? Is there certification that's required for the kind of work that I have? Incentives. So what is it that is helping me to stay hungry as an entrepreneur, right? So that the incentive piece is usually tied closely to your why. For some, you may have some aggressive financial goals around how you want to earn. Maybe you're trying to pay something down. Maybe you want a storefront. But what's your incentive? Being very clear about the milestones of success on your entrepreneurial journey, and what puts that fire in your belly, even on a Monday morning, which is traditionally kind of known as, the day where people are like, oh, it's Monday, but since I became a full-time entrepreneur, while I might be tired on a Monday, I had never felt that sense of dread as I did after a while when I was going to my 9 to 5. So what puts that fire in your belly? What is the incentive? And do you have, as an entrepreneur, do you have the resources that you need to execute what's in your plan? And do you have a plan? Which is, I always say to people that what doesn't get scheduled most likely doesn't happen. So you might have a clear vision, you might have the ability, you might know exactly what your goals, your aggressive goals are, you have the resources, but do you have a plan around how you're going to execute in your business. And I'm not just talking about a business plan, but your full strategy around where do you want to be at the end of April? Where do you want to be at the end of May? Where do you want to be at the end of 2018? And when those elements are in place, we experience brand clarity. We experience clarity around identifying our inner brand and who we are in our business, and what our entrepreneurial identity is, and what our entrepreneurial distinctive is. What gives you an edge is what's at your core, right? So when we're not experiencing that bit of brand clarity, what happens if we take one of those pieces away? So let's start with vision, right? So we start to lose vision around where we're going in our business, then the natural output is a sense of confusion. And so whenever you're experiencing a sense of confusion in your business around what am I supposed to do, where am I going, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this again? Is there anyone here? If you identify that, you can just drop a 1 in the comments for me. I don't know about you, but there are tons of days as an entrepreneur where sometimes I'm just like, what am I doing again, right? And I have to remind myself about my why and what the vision is. Right? So if you've ever identified with that feeling in your entrepreneurial journey, let me know I'm not out here on my own. Drop a 1 in the comments and let me know I've been there, Nicole, right? So if we're feeling that sense of confusion, we want to go back to the vision and go and revisit our why. And for me, that's written out in the hallway of my home. Sometimes I have to literally stand there and face it and read it and remind myself why I'm doing this again. Okay, so make sure your vision, your why is somewhere really clear. Perhaps you're feeling very anxious in your business, right? Then what may be missing, what you see in the third line down, is the skills. Thank you, ladies. I'm not the only one. Thank you, right? You may be feeling anxious, right? And many different things can lead to feelings of anxiety in your business. You know, one of the most obvious ones is often I'm maybe not making enough money to meet my financial commitments right now, or I'm not seeing the kind of clients coming through that I want, or my following is not growing. There may be things happening in your personal life that may be causing you to feel anxious. You want to go back to how do you fight that? How do you combat that feeling of entrepreneurial anxiety? Do some leveling up. Do some skills building. That's going to reintroduce that brand clarity for you when it may be time for you to level up and to sharpen your skills. All right. Fourth line down, resistance. This may be external resistance from those around you, maybe those on your team. And I'm not talking about family members, because again, a very common entrepreneurial experience is probably 9 out of 10 times our family has no idea what we do as an entrepreneur. But resistance within your business team, but more importantly, resistance in your own self. If you're feeling tensions, right, within your own self, feeling conflicted is another word that may be appropriate there, then you need to go back to the incentive. You need to go back to the why. You need to give yourself some clear milestones that you get to celebrate on your way to where you're going. So maybe your vision is very clear. Maybe you already had some goals and milestones in place, but maybe you need to introduce some incentives a little bit earlier so that you can mitigate that feeling of conflictedness. So you can say, hey, yeah, something's happening here. I'm making progress. Or let me celebrate what seems like insignificant small progress. For me, again, I go back to that wall in my home. When I start to feel that sense of confliction, I write out what I've achieved year to date. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing much better than I realized. How many women did I speak to this year so far? Even if they didn't sign up for my services, how many did sign up? How many webinars and workshops did I have? And as you begin to remind yourself of that, you begin to, again, get back into brand clarity. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down, frustration, right? So for the frustrated entrepreneur, we're still talking about finding your inner brand. This is more along the lines of staying in alignment with it, right? So you're experiencing frustration along your entrepreneurial journey. Welcome to the club. I feel like I need to kind of develop or create some kind of t-shirt that connects us all together across the globe around that entrepreneurial frustration. Perhaps you don't have the resources anymore that you did, and this can be a really tough one to solve, especially when getting resources may be tied to finances. So you may not have the money to acquire the resources. Well, hey, listen, this is a great time to do one of two things. One, get really creative. Two, expand your network and your supports. Someone cannot help meet a need they don't know about. You'd be surprised how many people would be willing to meet a need in your business if you reached out or reached across to somebody else. And then the last one in the chart there is false starts. And so that just really speaks to, again, I've been historically a victim of this until I came into a very clear understanding about who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing, kind of starting and stopping. Yeah, I'm going to do this, I start. I'm going to post on social media, I stop. I'm going to, insert whatever goal it is for you. If you feel comfortable, share it in the comments, share it with us. It's a safe place. If not, write it down where you're taking notes. What areas in your entrepreneur life have you been experiencing start and stops, false starts, right? What you may be lacking is a clear plan of execution. I'm talking about a step-by-step plan. What does it get scheduled rarely gets done. Okay, a clear, realistic plan is going to help the consistency and the continuity of your workflow. This is, again, not limited to your business plan. This can also be speaking to your life plan. This can be speaking to do you have a plan for what your day, not only your week, but what your days look like in your week? From the moment you wake up, what's the plan around how you live out or execute your time as an entrepreneur, right? Thank you, Heather. Heather says, great chart. You'll get a copy. I'm glad that you're finding it helpful. All right. So before I jump over to the next slide, any questions or comments that I can take from anyone at this point? No, we're good. If you do have one, pop it in and I will stop as we go. So let's continue. So these I'm going to share three quotes, three kind of really life lessons for me along the journey of purpose. And these come from, I wrote a book a few years ago called Speak Your Way to Purpose. And the story behind the book was really that I found I was going through different challenging or courageous life experiences, and it was just knocking the wind out of me. And then I was like, oh God, help me. And then he would, and I'd find my way out, and I would learn a really amazing lesson. And then in a matter of moments, I would find myself on the sidelines again, not executing, not living in purpose, not actualizing my dreams, not putting my goals into action because I was either feeling discouraged, deflated, defeated, or insert obstacle here. And so after a while, God was kind of like, listen, every time you get here, you keep coming back and kind of doing this whole woohoo thing. So if you are learning some really great lessons that have pulled you out of some dark places and discouraging moments in your life, and for you, entrepreneur, if you're learning some really great lessons on this journey of entrepreneurship, then I was challenged, why not write it down? And then not only why not write it down, but let's take it a step further and go back to it. Many of us are guilty of having journals and journals and stacks of notebooks where we write down all kinds of really great information. Maybe they're from webinars like today, maybe they're from podcasts, maybe they're from your own life experiences where you tried something, it didn't work, but you learned something really transformational from it. The challenge to me was to write it down, go back to it, and then speak it back audibly out loud to myself whenever I was going through those difficult times. And so hence the book. I kind of pulled all of those life lessons around purpose and how to stay in purpose together, and a series of affirmations and declarations, and put them together in a book. So having said all of that, wanted to share a few of them with you in your own journey around identifying your inner brand and really trying to figure out what your core edge is, and again, not only how to create a strong brand, but how to remain consistent. So first one, you can achieve many things alone. Greatness is not one of them. You need a dream team, whatever you want to call it, dream team, tribe, whatever name you want to give it. You need it to get to the next level of expanding your brand and really bringing your work to your business to the next level. So take the time to, again, write down who should be at your proverbial table. Think about your strengths in your business. Think about the strengths of your brand. Think about the weaknesses. Think about what's been holding your brand development back and who's missing from the table. So you can achieve many things alone. Greatness is one of them. You need a dream team. Second one, they say great minds think alike. Actually, great minds think differently. But together, purpose is propelled into motion. So again, this is connected to the building of your team, the building of your brand. Bring some other minds together, not just those who are on your yay you team, right? That's important too. You need people around you who are going to go, yeah, yay you. But you need some people who think differently from you, who can get in a room to share an ideation around your brand, to maybe help you come to awareness around a part of your brand identity, your business identity, your personal identity that you might be overlooking. A key part, again, to discovering, finding, identifying our inner brand is listening to the consistent, affirming voices around us about how people are experiencing us, and then funneling that into our brand identity. And then the third one, master the art of anchoring your power. And this really speaks to brand consistency. Like I mentioned earlier, we are inundated with tons of information. If you're on social media at all, perhaps you have been blinded by at one point or the other, or you've gotten what we call social media glitter in your eyes. And if you're not familiar with the term, maybe you've been scrolling through and seeing other businesses that are similar to yours that are seemingly doing better than you are, and it throws you off kilter, it throws you off key. If you do not master the art of anchoring your power, and I would even swap that word with power for brand, mastering the art of anchoring your brand, what begins to happen is an insatiable quest for being like everyone else. Your most effective place is your authentic place. Your most effective place is staying aligned with your core, staying aligned with your core edge, your core identity, and operating from that place. Not a problem, Victoria. I know what it's like to have to grab your little one. And yes, you definitely will get the slides. Thank you for taking some time to check out. But you definitely want to master your brand, because before you know it, you'll start to run off in multiple directions and find yourself stretched and out of alignment. And then you're going to have to start going back to that chart we just looked at to figure out why you're feeling confused, why you're feeling anxious, why you're feeling out of sorts about your brand and your business. So I want to encourage you, entrepreneurs, as you're listening, to anchor that, to know that whatever it is that you identified as being at your core, being at your DNA, being a part of your why, that it's valuable, it's honorable, and it's effective. And the reason why someone else's glitter looks so bright is because they're doing them, and you've got to master doing you as an entrepreneur. Does that mean that we don't learn from other people? Absolutely not. But we want to stay true to the brand. And the best way to do that is when the brand is anchored in our core, it's anchored in who we are. Again, that's where we find our edge, and that's where we find our distinctiveness. Okay? So the closer you remain to your core, the stronger brand you will be able to build. All right? Any questions or comments that I can take at this time for anyone? So if you, oh, did I hear a voice there? All right, let's continue. So if you are interested in doing some work together beyond the life of what we looked at today, skill up with some add-on services. If you're a solopreneur, or if you are an entrepreneur who has a team, or maybe you are still in your 9 to 5 and you have a side hustle and you haven't made the leap to full-time entrepreneurship, think about how you can skill up and level up, how we can skill up or level up together. Maybe you might be interested in, I offer Let You Learn sessions. I also offer one-to-one leadership and lifestyle or executive coaching, as well as a wellness retainer coaching service. I have probably my most popular session is my facilitated clarity and ideation session. Or maybe you have a team and you want to plan a staff retreat day or weekend. What I do want to make available for you today as a limited time offer is my facilitated clarity and ideation session. So we had what I hope was a great and fantastic webinar time together today, but don't stop here. There's so much more that we can share together. So my exclusive member rate for you all on the line today, if you want to get together and jump on the line, I offer a one-to-one clarity session, which is a private 1-hour consulting call designed to begin the process of identifying what's stopping you from moving forward in your life or your business or your brand and how you can conquer it. So what we'll do in that time is we'll map out the preliminary next steps that you'll need to take to move from being stuck to actually activating your goals, in whether it's in your personal life or again in your business and in your brand. So you're just a few clicks away from that. I live in the Greater Toronto area, but you don't have to. You can literally take part from anywhere in the world. The sessions will take place via phone or video conference. And of course, just like today, you'll receive a copy of our session of the recording for lifelong learning and reference. And so if you are interested in participating in that, my email address is there, info@nicolesalmon.com. You can just shoot me an email with the subject line Clarity Coaching Session, and I will get the ball rolling from there. This is a timed offer because the investment value of the Clarity session is a bit more than the price that you see here, the member rate here. So to take advantage of that, you need to shoot your email over to me before, I know we're on different time zones, but before 4:00 p.m. And that's Eastern Standard Time. Okay? And if you want to stay in touch, feel free to follow me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find me at Nicole O. Salmon. You can email me, and of course, to learn more, you can jump on, oh, look at that, I spelled my own website incorrectly. It's actually NicoleOSalmon.com. I'll have to make that correction. So website is www.NicoleOSalmon.com. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I'm going to, if there are any questions, I'm going to be around for a while and I'll be happy to answer them for you. I'm going to turn back over to Tracy at this time.
Thank you, Nicole. Some great stuff for kind of developing and strengthening that core branding. Thank you. Yeah, we'll be here for another couple minutes if anybody has any questions for Nicole. If not, you are welcome to rejoin the rest of your Wednesday and hopefully with a renewed branding clarity and purpose. Anybody have any questions for Nicole?
Oh, you're welcome, Leanne.
Re-inspired. Good.
Awesome.
You too, Vivian.
Okay, I think it's done. Okie dokie. Alrighty.
Okay, I don't see any questions coming in, but feel free you can always email Nicole or myself if you think of any questions after the fact. And yeah, connect with her on social media so that you can stay up to date and get all those great tips. And I'll see everybody hopefully next week at Inspire. And after that, on the next webinar for Intro to Starting a Business. Have a great day, everybody.